centuries, this Gloucestershire field has been untouched, apart from the sheep who graze here. But we reckon that underneath it lies a big secret, one of the largest Roman villas yet to be excavated in this country. And if we're right and there really is a Roman villa here, then we've got just 3 days to discover how big it was, who lived here, and when it was destroyed or abandoned. And if that isn't enough for the weekend, we're also covering the whole dig live. In fact, some of you may have seen the live shows which went out last August. But as yet, I haven't got a clue what's going to happen. All I can promise you is that this weekend should be pretty exciting.
No, I don't suppose you could.
Oh, Tony, this is Wolf, the farmer, and Roger here, who took this air picture.
Hi, Roger.
This site.
The reason we're so confident there's a Roman villa under this field is that 2 people have actually seen it. In the dry summer of 1976, farmer Wilf Mustoe paced out and sketched a pattern that appeared on the grass in his field.
It's 297 feet long.
Yeah. Huge, isn't it?
Yes, and the courtyard, as we called it out on the bank there, is 257 feet long.
Heck of a length, isn't it?
Heck of a length.
Yeah.
And what's this? It's on the back of a tax return, income tax private. And just 2 years ago, amateur archaeologist Roger Box took this photo of the same lines from a helicopter, though it's a bit of a struggle to see them. Why do you think it's a Roman villa rather than something else, mate?
Basically because it seems to be a series of ranges of buildings around a central courtyard. You can see these parallel lines, white lines up each side, and then you can see divisions within them marking out the rooms. So it's a sort of classic Roman villa plan.
And what exactly are the lines?
Well, they're parch marks. They don't normally show up, but it's been so dry that what we're actually seeing is the grass dying over the top of the walls that are buried in the ground. And what is amazing is you can actually see it today as well, because it's been so dry recently.
In this field?
Yeah, I mean, if you actually look over here, look, there's a line across there. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
And then there's another one goes off up this way, across here. And if you actually look at them closely, what you've actually got is that it's greener there and greener there, but the grass is actually dead in that line there, look.
So there actually ought to be the foundation of a Roman wall right under here. As usual though, Mick wants to see some geophysics results before deciding where to dig. They may be able to pick up walls and features not visible in the parch marks. So John, Chris and the team have been surveying the field since crack of dawn. And by 10 a.m, they've got their first set of results.
God,
Lord,
that's absolutely fantastic.
It's absolutely astounding. I mean,
must be one of the clearest ones ever.
We've got the 3 ranges and possibly a gatehouse, gardens in the middle.
Corridors and rooms up here.
Everything's so clear.
Yeah. Look at this, it's absolutely fantastic.
Do you believe it?
There's definitely something there. These are by miles the clearest results we've ever had. And everyone's now convinced we've got a large villa on our hands. But how much of it's still there? All right, well, let's get digging then, shall we? Mick immediately decides to dig 2 trenches. Here in the Eastern Range and here into what should be the main living quarters in the North Range. By 10:45, both trenches are underway. And before they've even finished lifting the turf, Phil and Carenza both start scraping.
Oh, look at that. It's just underneath, isn't it, eh? Oh.
That's looking encouraging. Let's have that one off.
But we're not just trying to find the walls of the villa, we want to find out about its history as well. when it was built, who lived here, and what life was like here 1600 years ago. Most of the answers, we hope, will come from the trenches. But we can already tell a lot just from the geophysics results. This is our villa.
Yes.
How does it compare in size with other Roman villas that have been found?
I think the easiest way is to say on a scale of 1 to 10, we seem to be looking at one at about 9.
9?
Yes.
So this really is a significant find?
Oh, no doubt about it.
Oh, great.
When you look at some of these other plans we've got here of sites that have been excavated in the past, you can see that it's bigger than Spoonley Wood. It's smaller than Fishbourne, but that's not surprising.
That was just a palace.
Yes,
But even so, I mean, it's the largest Roman building that we've found, and with what, 2/3 of the size of that.
And it's not that much smaller than Woodchester, which is probably the largest villa that we know of in this
Really?
country.
Not only that, but Victor's already had a go at drawing what the villa might have looked like. An elaborate gatehouse would have led into a courtyard with the main range of domestic rooms to the north and 2 wings to the east and west. And so far, this vision is matched by the archaeology. The stonework in both trenches is developing into good, solid walls.
Look, you see, we're getting...
And we've got our first Roman finds. Coins from Trench 1 and pottery from Trench 2.
It's a nice piece, isn't it? Actually, a base of something. It's our first proper bit of pottery.
Well, it looks like it's Severn Valley ware. The reason you can tell that is because it's got a very distinctive sandwich where you see it's orange on the outside, on both inside and outside, but it's grey in the middle. So this shows it's been actually fired in an oxidising kiln. And this sandwich effect is very typical of Severn Valley ware.
What sort of date do you reckon for that?
Well, Severn Valley ware is made throughout the Roman period, but probably where we are now, this is going to be 4th century.
4th century.
And you've
That's
got the reduced
great,
core. So this
because
is
it
a very
means we can
distinctive
begin to
sandwich
place the
effect.
villa
It's
in the
very diagnostic.
context of the 400 years of Roman Britain. Whenever it was built, our villa was still inhabited in the 4th century AD, the final and most glorious phase of Roman occupation. But can we tell who lived here?
A villa this size, built pretty abruptly at the beginning of the 4th century, which it appears to be, there has to be the chance that it's built by a wealthy landowner coming in from outside of this region altogether, possibly even from the other side of the channel.
But it could equally well be a local family, a local member of the De Bunny family, who'd made money out of crops or whatever, and was investing it in the house.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how do we decide which of you is right?
Well, one of the things that the excavation might demonstrate over the next 2 days is if we find a villa that's built completely out of the blue, no previous history as it were, it increases the chance that it's somebody coming in from outside.
Why is that?
Because if it's a family farm, it will develop over a long period of time, and you'll see that in the archaeology.
Bits added on, bits developed as they acquired more money and the family took off. So, it's a straight choice, really.
Whether the villa was built by Keith's jet-set Continentals or Mick's local Brits, it's in a very impressive location. There are natural water springs to the southeast of the site, great views to the north and south, and a short chariot or helicopter ride away is a major Roman road. At present, we're flying over the line of the Fosse Way, which was one of the biggest Roman roads in England, and behind us is Cirencester, which was the biggest Roman town after London, and over there is Chedworth, which is probably the best known Roman villa around here. So, Mick, we're really in the heart of Roman Britain, aren't we?
Oh yeah, one of the most important areas for villas in the country.
Why? Why were there all these villas around here?
It's such good land. I think that's the main reason. It's good land for sheep, but also for corn. But also it has lots of very attractive bits of scenery. In the Cotswolds, well known for that. And a lot of these villas are sited for aesthetic reasons as well as practical reasons.
And do big roads like the Fosse Way mean that there was much military activity?
Well, yes. The interesting thing about the Fosse Way is it was almost certainly a frontier road, and it was built about AD 47. To our right, down towards London and the southeast, seems to be the area that the Romans were interested in conquering because it was the wealthiest agricultural area, and they probably regarded the Severn Valley and Wales beyond it as hostile territory. So this road is built along to feed all the forts that are looking in that direction. And then later on, of course, as the country is pacified, it becomes a great artery between Exeter and Bath and Cirencester and Lincoln and York, running right the way up through the country. And then it's just a major motorway of the Roman period.
And just a few hundred yards off it, our villa is still visible as a network of parch marks.
You see the white lines? running across this side of the trench?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
And you can see the corner where we were yesterday. Look, and the rest. Oh, look at
It's quite
that!
clearly laid out, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely, it hasn't disappeared. And there's more stuff down here. Look.
Yeah.
And then there's a corner down there. Look how clear that. Oh, and look at these buildings down here. Look.
They're separate, actually, from the main building, aren't
Yeah,
they?
well, they should be down towards. And there's something there by the spring. Look. God, I hadn't noticed those on the ground. It's spilling over the sides, isn't it? Down this side here, look. There's still stuff down there, and it's much more so down the other side where the springs are.
Which means our 9 out of 10 villa could be even larger. But down in Trench 1, Phil is oblivious to this sudden potential expansion. Inside his wall, he's scraping down into a room, and he's in a world of his own. Until the arrival of Bill Oddie, his apprentice for the weekend, who wants a quick grounding in the basic rules of archaeology.
First rule is not
Don't
to
sit
sit
on
on a
it.
section.
Why? Is that for my protection or the trenches?
That is for the site's protection.
Am I all right like that?
You're
All right.
doing fine.
Okay,
You're
I won't
doing
breathe.
fine
Just
so
carry
far.
on. Tell me about the trowel.
Okay. The important part of the trowel
Okay.
is that bit.
Yeah.
And it's a simple procedure. Just keep scraping it back.
Yeah. Right.
And you just simply keep working your way back, keeping your eye looking out for
Yes, I haven't got
finds.
a trowel.
Use
Oh,
that
come
one.
on.
Use that one.
Your trowel.
Go, Mike. Go for
I'm
it.
honoured. His trowel. Right. How am I doing?
Tip it a little flatter, and then it'll
Like
cut
that?
through the
Like that?
That's more like it.
Slice
It'll
it,
cut.
yeah.
That's it. Beautiful.
A few yards away, Mick has decided to open our third trench. He's put it here in the middle of the courtyard to see if he can find any remains of the villa's garden. But the plan's thwarted by a confused mass of stonework, none of which looks like a garden feature. So almost as soon as it's begun, Trench 3 is closed.
The Romans virtually invented pewter work.
Meanwhile, Phil has abandoned Bill in Trench 1 to find out about a Romano-British speciality. Britain was apparently the Roman Empire's main producer of pewter.
What were they using it for?
Tableware, the plates, jugs, spoons, bowls, that sort of thing.
And I mean, were the raw materials available around here?
Yes, you had the tin from Cornwall and the lead from the Mendips, all very handy.
And Phil's going to learn how the Romans would have actually made a pewter bowl.
Giles, you're our stonemason.
Hi.
And you're apparently going to make us an accurate mould so we can cast this a pewter bowl.
Yeah, that's the idea. I don't know if we're going to pull it off though. Basically,
what do you mean?
well, you don't know yet, but basically we want 2 pieces of stone, one to sit inside another.
That seems straightforward.
Well, it might be, but we've got to get an eighth of an eighth of an inch gap
all
the way around.
And you're going to do this by hand?
Yep, it's all going to be done by hammer and chisel. So we'll have to wait and see.
Now I begin to see the problem. Yep. Tom, you're our pewterer. Yeah. I mean, what is pewter?
Well, pewter is an alloy of tin and lead. This is tin, and this is lead, and you can see they're quite soft materials. That's and
the strength of 10 men.
Yeah. And the lead. I can do this. That's the amount of tin and the amount of lead that'll go into the bowl, and they'll be melted together and then poured into the mould that Giles is going to make. And we're going to try and make this rather attractive looking bowl.
That is quite impressive, because if we've got all these wonderful curves here, and you've got to get those wonderful curves down to an eighth of an inch.
Curves,
yeah.
Well, let's see it get on then. I'm dying to ask, can I have a go? Come on, what do I do? You better tell me what I do then.
Chip away.
Just chip away?
Chip away.
Just like that?
That's it.
I mean, am I going to go too deep?
No, not at the moment. We've got
While Phil chips away at the mould, Corinda and her team have been chipping away at a layer of rubble in Trench 2 and have now reached the floor.
Well, it's rather nice. We've got a nice slice here that goes from the outside, because this sort of cobbled area that you can see is part of the courtyard,
Around here, yes.
across which you would have approached this end of the building. Then we've got a wall here that probably would have been fairly low and maybe had small columns supporting a lean-to roof that would have covered this broad swathe here, which looks as if it's turning into a corridor.
Yeah.
And then up here we have got an inner wall which has still got traces of plaster adhering to it. And that would then lead us into the main range of rooms that run up in this direction. These would have been the main domestic suites.
Tell us what you think these rooms might have been used for.
Probably dining room, reception rooms, features such as that.
Yeah.
And we can see now that some of them would have perhaps been roofed rather like pan tiles. You've got this ridge here which would have had a half round tile over the top, just like you'd see in the Mediterranean today. And other parts of the building seem to be roofed with this sandstone, some of it green, some of it red.
I mean, what's particularly nice on this roof tile here, look, you can see the dog's footprint, where when it was being laid out to dry, dog would have walked on it. I mean, they really get you close to the actual people who live here.
That is just so great. But if we thought we were getting to grips with the layout of the villa, we were wrong. The geophysics team have spent the afternoon surveying where Mick and I had seen the parch marks, and at 5 o'clock, John produces his next miracle.
Okay, this is the north range with the two wings coming down.
Yes.
And then we thought we'd got this gatehouse in the middle with the courtyard here.
Yes.
We've now extended the survey and we're still gathering results, and it now looks to us as though we've got a third range coming across here.
So more walls down here?
More walls, a whole range of buildings.
Which presumably would double the size of the villa?
Yes, I mean, we've not just got one courtyard here, we've got the second courtyard.
I mean, I think
At once, a council of war is called to discuss what this means for our next trench. John wants to dig into the blob in the middle, which he thinks is a gatehouse, and which might yield valuable clues to the status and lifestyle of the occupants. Carenza wants to dig down here, to test whether this really is another range.
We originally thought the villa was this big, we're now saying it's twice this big. Yeah. All the readings look a bit different here. I'd really like to have a trench across this far end so we could find out whether it really is building ranges the same as what we've got here. I think otherwise it could be gardens, it could be something different. It's going over the edge of the slope. I would just really like to know, we need to know the extent of it.
But the geophysics is clear at this end. You know, we can see on the geophysics that we've definitely got a second courtyard.
Yeah.
The geophysics has proved right elsewhere. Why is it going to be proved wrong there?
Eventually Mick agrees with John, and first thing tomorrow, Trench 4 will go into the gatehouse. There's a more relaxed atmosphere with the pewterers. Giles has nearly finished the mould, and it looks wonderfully smooth and symmetrical. But will the two halves fit together?
Dare I try it?
You have a go.
Wow. Now then.
Does that fit?
Oh, that is very impressive.
A little bit of movement in there.
I congratulate you. That is impressive.
But before we can knock off for the evening, Bill wants to show us a huge pot he's found in Trench 1.
Yeah, now Phil's cleaned this up for me, but am I allowed to actually get it out?
Okay, take it out. Go on, have a take it out.
Go on.
There's one bit
that's a bit rough.
Oh, I don't want to believe
There's two bits.
Please,
should be more
don't
delicate.
do anything like this at home.
Look.
So that's a very good example of what you're not supposed to do.
Why? Why was that too rough or something?
Because you yanked it out.
You're not supposed to yank it out.
No. Gently ease it, but yank it, no.
So, at the end of day one of our 3-day dig, we're beginning to build a dauntingly complex picture of this Roman villa. We're well on the way to understanding how large it was and hopefully how important. But what did it look like, and what was life like here 1600 years ago? When was it built and how long did it last? We've got many more questions than answers at this stage, but that's typical Time Team for you. Join us after the break. Day 2, and all the excitement and euphoria of yesterday has been completely dampened down by the rain. It hasn't just been raining, it's been tipping it down all night. Nevertheless, a few of our more plucky archaeologists have been persuaded to open up Trench 4, which was the trench that Mick decided he wanted to have a look at last night. Mick! Is it going to be worth it?
It already is.
Why, what's happened?
Well, we've just taken, 3 or 4 inches of soil off?
Yeah.
Just literally
and wham, straight on down onto it, stone walls. We've got one here, one over there, the one across the back, and they've got plaster on them, look.
Oh, you can definitely see that sticking up, can't you?
Yeah, and if you look at this bit here, look, guys, that looks as if it's going to have colour on it.
It certainly does.
It's got red paint or something on it.
Yeah. And what's this big lumpy thing here?
Well, this is the wall coming through, you see. So these are stones in the wall.
Yeah.
And then over here they've got it turning again where Neil is. Look, point with your trowel, Neil. There's plaster on there, look.
Oh, fantastic.
The wall.
And so we'd have a beautiful little room here then?
Hang on, Taylor, there's another wall going off here, look.
Oh, blimey. It's fantastic to get so much so quickly, but all these walls mean what we've found is unlikely to be a gatehouse. There would have been no room for anything to get through. So Mick immediately extends the trench to get a broader look at this mystery suite of rooms. Yesterday, given the information that we had, you and Victor had a stab at this drawing of what you thought our villa would be like, but now everything's changed, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We seem to be getting larger, don't we? And we now know from Trench 4 that where we thought there may have been quite a monumental entrance, we seem to have a suite of rooms running across there, so we're going to need to modify this part of the drawing.
And does this also mean that that might not just be a wall, but that might be a suite of rooms too?
There may well be another suite of rooms through there, with further wings extending down that steep slope towards the stream. It's all looking quite intriguing.
Downright uncertain, I call it. We still don't know how big the villa was, what it looked like, or even if it was a villa. And geophys are still going down the slope. So it's a considerable relief when Trench 2, the one slicing into the North Range, provides our next clue to the villa's history. There's evidence this part of it was radically altered.
This end isn't maintained any longer. The plaster starts to fall off the walls.
Is that the plaster there?
The white stuff there, see where the label is, and that light grey stuff, that's all collapsed wall plaster.
So what's this brown stuff here
That's other gravel that's been brought in to be mixed with the plaster and used to level off to make another floor surface. So the flagstones have been taken up, used in the bit of the villa that is still sort of being occupied comfortably. The plaster's fallen off the walls are bare, there's a rough floor. It's probably used for storage, maybe for animals, perhaps for slaves. But the roof's still on, the walls are still up.
Redevelopment like this suggests the occupants lived here a long time and are therefore more likely to have been local Britons rather than continental Romans. And the finds, like Bill's pot, make it ever more likely that they lived here at the very end of the Roman occupation.
Has it qualified for the ancient table?
It has indeed, yes. This is quite late. It's late 4th century, possibly even beginning of the 5th century.
How do you know?
Well, you tend to have an instinctive feeling that's 4th century. This particular one, it's got these little white dots here.
Yeah.
That's broken up shell, which has been mixed into the clay, and that's very distinctive for the South Midlands pottery in the late 4th century. And then you've got the shape of the pot.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling a bit doubtful, you can always look it up and check that that's definitely late 4th century.
Right.
And it would have looked like this. It was a storage jar about 8 inches in height, just the kind of thing you'd find in a well-stocked Roman kitchen.
Yes, please, put inside.
Like this one.
Please.
TV cook Hugh Fernley Whittingstall has teamed up with Roman cookery specialist Aurelio Spagnolo. They're making a Roman banquet for us, using real recipes from Roman cook Apicius, and that means real Roman ingredients.
The kind of things the Romans ate, was it very different from the food we enjoy today?
Yes, was really different. The Roman taste have a really sweet and sour taste, really strong.
They like strong flavours.
Exactly, it was a lot of honey.
Yeah, for
and
the sweet.
Particularly the garum.
What is this garum?
It's a fish sauce, fish and salting.
Whew. Strong stuff.
Yes, it's
if
very
you open
strong.
that outside, you'd have birds dropping out of the sky.
Yeah, it's very strong.
But there are no birds, they're all sheltering from the rain. In fact, the only visible wildlife is a few archaeologists, and in Trench 4, they've worked out what the walls are.
It is a bath. It's a lined bath. You see it's got red plaster, painted red, going all the way around 4 sides. And Phil and Bill just digging out one half of it. So it's coming behind me there.
So it goes all the way around to here.
That's right.
Jenny's digging here, look.
Red plaster again.
Yeah.
Coming right the way around. But look how it's going down here. There's a good depth to it. It's probably got at least another foot to go. So it's quite a deep feature, and it would have held hot water, and the bloke would have got in here and had a bath.
I wish it did.
I think the one thing we don't need, Bill, is a bath.
One of the things, Tony, is we've got this plunge pool, but we don't appear to have anything else in the bathhouse, do we, Neil?
Not yet. We've only got one possible thing over the back there, which might just be some buttresses where they actually kept the boiler to support the boiler, which that will heat the water up, pipe it in to the hot bath.
What would a bath have been doing slap bang in the middle of the building?
Well, it's an odd place, isn't it, over on the end here? I mean, it hadn't ought to be in this range, had it, Neil, really?
No, it should be in the main house, so the man living in the main house doesn't have to come out in the open to get wet to have a bath.
So this isn't the main house?
Well, it all adds up, I think, to this being a slightly unusual collection of buildings, you know. It's not a normal villa, it doesn't have the normal rooms in it. It argues that it might be something completely different.
230, 240... 250.
There's more certainty at the foundry. The furnace is hot, the pewter's at the right temperature. It's time to make the first cast.
So what exactly is the process then, Tom?
Well, I should take some of the molten pewter, pour it into this mould, which I've already prepared by chalking it.
What have you chalked it for?
To smooth the surface off so we get a better casting.
So it's like a sort of Roman Teflon then,
yeah,
is
that's
it?
better, yeah, very much so. And then I shall clamp these two moulds together. Take a ladle full of metal.
Some pretty evil weather you've got for this, isn't it, eh?
Yeah, so glad we haven't got any water in the mould, otherwise it would explode and spit all the metal back out again.
That's it, is it?
That's it, I hope.
These little rivulets, so they will have set now, will they?
They've set, yes. I'm sure it's all set now.
Good Lord.
Because the mould is cold, you see, so it's going to cool the metal down very quickly.
This is going to be amazing, isn't it? This is that sort of great moment, isn't it, really?
This is the moment of truth.
Is it actually going to work? Oh! Oh,
just one or two.
Oh,
it could have been a little bit hotter, you see.
Back on site, everyone's digging like crazy, trying to keep up with our mysterious and ever-expanding villa. A new set of geophysics results suggest it's continuing even further down the slope towards a third possible courtyard. And Carenza has persuaded Mick to put in trenches 5 and 6 to test the results. But even this may not be the full extent, because beyond these new trenches, John and Chris have still got another 40 metres to go before they hit the stream at the bottom of the site.
I mean, if this is the plunge pool...
But Mick's still worrying about the position of the bathhouse.
What about the idea then, if that's the main range of buildings over there, the main part of the house, the baths is across the courtyard? I mean, does that not argue that this is either not the main one, or you know, there's something else somewhere else, or
this is certainly in an odd position if you look at other villa layouts. There's a suite of heated rooms over there that would be where you would expect the baths. But it's also striking me more and more as you look at the evidence from those trenches 1 and 2 that perhaps that northernmost range and its counterpart over there,
the sort of eastern range,
have been very, very carefully and systematically demolished.
Right.
And we may be seeing a whole successive series of buildings moving across the plateau rather than one large contemporary unit.
So in fact,
So perhaps the bathhouse isn't in such a strange place after all. Because if this northern range was dismantled, then this range, with the bathhouse, becomes the main domestic area of the villa. It also means that rather than expanding down the site, the villa may just have shifted position during different phases. How about drawings? Which is bad news for Steve and Victor, trying to reconstruct what the villa looked like.
It's an ongoing project, so we're altering things every time we find something new about it.
Today's discovery suggests the foundations wouldn't carry a building at all, in particular no central tower, and of course here in particular now we've got a plunge bath. You'll see that if you try to make an impressive entry through that gateway now, you'd make a splash in a way you didn't expect to.
This means Steve's got to start all over again, and this time he's got not 3 days to make his reconstruction, but just 1. And all this before we've even heard from Carenza, who's found more bits of villa in trenches 5 and 6. Carenza? Are you at trench 5 or 6?
I'm on trench 5 at the moment. We're not too far down it yet. We've got some stones turning up that aren't there naturally, so they must be part of some man-made feature, but we really don't know whether they're floor or wall at the moment. Down at the other trench, trench 6, I'm just going to run down. Similar situation really, Tony, here. We're still going through topsoil, it's deeper again. We've got quite a lot of stone turning up, but we can't tell what it is yet.
Thank you, Teresa.
Mick, Daphne, as we speak, just come out of the where we think the flue hole is. What is
Over
it?
there. I think it's a roof finial. You see, it's decorated. It's got like 4 arches and like a little dwarf column coming up the top. So it's a piece of sort of decorative architecture.
Off the roof. But it's the first piece of sculpture we've had, isn't it, of any note?
And do we know what sort of period that would be from?
It's definitely Roman, but it's hard to date within the Roman period. But it's almost like a mini triumphal arch, isn't it?
Yeah,
you see?
That's great, isn't it? Yeah. Well, Meanwhile, the pewterers have got the furnace a little hotter and are ready to have another go.
Oh, if only. Come on. Moment of truth. Come on. Oh, shit.
So they try again.
Leaking.
And again.
No, it's doing the same again.
And again.
Oh, what? I don't believe it!
I bet the Romans didn't have this much trouble. Still, Tom can practice overnight and try again tomorrow. There's better news from the incident room, where our table's now groaning with wonderful finds. What have we got that we're really proud of?
I think most of it. We start off with a Bronze Age flint arrowhead.
Bronze Age?
Bronze Age flint arrowhead,
Yeah.
forget that. We then have a real bronze brooch of 1st century AD date. This one's later 1st century AD. We've got the child's bracelet, and then we've got some fascinating pottery here. This is pieces of pottery made in North Oxford area, copying Samian ware.
Copying Samian ware.
And this one's got a piece of graffiti on the bottom.
So this is the piece that's copying the Samian ware. And is that what's that mark on it?
Well, that's just a piece of graffiti, so you know whose it was or a batch number or something.
And now we've got all the finds chronologically arranged in a timeline, we can work out exactly when the villa was occupied.
What we've got today is absolute confirmation that this place was in use right through the 4th century. Nothing earlier still than the 270s, but we got lots of more in the middle of the 4th century, and then this one, which I mean, it'll need to be confirmed by getting cleaned again.
Sweet.
But I think that's a coin of Honorius. So I think.
Sorry, you think it's a coin of
Honorius, who was the emperor that was in when the legions left. In other words, that's plus or minus the year 400, one of the last Roman bronze coins in Britain.
That is beautiful. So we know that we were here in the 3rd and the 4th century. Haven't got much evidence of the 2nd century.
No, it's heirloom stuff from the 2nd and 1st century.
So as day 2 nears its end, we're another step closer to understanding our villa. And thoughts are inevitably turning to tonight's feast, for which Hugh and Arello are making the final preparations.
So this is the sauce for, may I?
That's the sauce. There's a few other things to go in here.
It's very tasty.
And just nearby, John's finished yet another set of geophysics results. Judging by the animated look on everyone's faces, the villa has now become a palace.
Yes.
What have we got?
This is the bee's knees. This is. Come on,
well,
John.
Basically, Tony, we've gone from the stream in the south to the fence at the northern end. We've finished going north-south. We've still got a bit to go to the east, but we seem to have got the end of it. It's an open range at the end. This is the bathhouse in the centre here. So I've sketched it on for those sceptics. Bathhouse in the middle.
So that's trench 4,
Yeah.
trench 2, trench 5.
And
trench
I think
5.
that's the general shape. The stream's at the bottom where mixed thumb is. We've even got a water course going from from
On which happy note, it's time to tuck in.
Welcome to Rome.
Thank you very much.
And if we could just pop that off.
Yeah.
Then we've got one of each.
Mate, what
There we go.
Tomorrow, the Ermine Street Guard will march over from Gloucester. There'll be loads more finds. Steve will have finished that reconstruction. See you after the break.
Well, they're black bit.
What's this stuff here?
That's just a bit of incrustation, but on the other side you've got the catch plate there, and the spring went from there to there.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's been silvered or tinned. And
Tim's just found this in the spoil heap. It's a brooch with someone's name on. It's like Trevor? Trevix?
Vitrix.
Anyway, it's the beginning of day 3, and if the rain got us down yesterday, we're totally ignoring it now because we're getting so many fantastic rewards out of the ground. We've got this whole bathhouse with the finial thing on top. The site seems to be extending and extending way down to the river. And now, Mick's opening another trench here. What would be the icing on the cake for me would be if we could actually find a Roman room, somewhere where old Trevor actually lived. Mick,
Yeah?
is there any chance that we will land on top of domestic quarters?
Oh, I think it's a very good chance here. We've targeted this one because we finally got the magnetometry results for the whole site. Here's our trench 4 in this area over here. We now think that perhaps that range with the bathhouse and this eastern range down here are actually the main living areas. And so we're putting a trench across here through this eastern range, right through all this knobbly stuff, where Chris and John think there are packed floors, but there are also high magnetics, which would be hypercoarse flutiles and that sort of stuff.
High status.
Yeah, and occupation.
Yeah.
So
look at this. Just come out the spoil heap.
Crikey! What's that? Silvered, is it, by the look of it? What does it say? What? Looks like Felix on the end. Look.
Or Vitrix? I don't know.
Something. Yeah.
I thought it was Trevor originally. Anyway, I'll whip it up to the incident room.
You love anything like that. You're like a cat with 9 tails, aren't
This
you?
is great stuff. This is really good. So by 10:30 on day 3, we've got a top find and 4 trenches going strong. Trench 7 here, which we hope will give us a room in the living quarters. Trenches 5 and 6, which should tell us how far down the site the villa stretches. And of course Trench 4, the bathhouse, which is getting better and better. In the plunge pool, the diggers are finding lots of beautifully painted wall plaster. The blues and reds, a sure sign this villa belonged to a very wealthy family. And under all the rubble and plaster, which the archaeologists think was put into the pool on purpose when the bathhouse was knocked down, they found this, and they're really excited. Keith, why is this coin so significant? We've found loads of coins so far.
It's absolutely crucial because it's the first one we found in a stratified context that will help us date the building. This is a coin of the Emperor Gratian, minted sometime 365, 380. So we now know that this bathhouse was deliberately filled in not earlier than probably about 380 AD, quite late in the Roman occupation. But crucially, they deliberately filled it in, and that means, of course, they're doing something else on top of it. They're still occupying the site. They're going to build something else on top of this bathhouse.
And presumably the thing that was built on top of it might have been wood, so there would be nothing left
It could
of it.
well be, yeah.
And what does stratified mean?
It means it's securely under a clear Roman occupation, or in this case, fill-in debris, and it actually relates to the structure. We can date the structure because of this.
So that's our first clue to the fate of the villa. As the Roman regime began to crumble, sometime about 380 AD, so splendour and opulence on this site gave way to something much more basic. Overnight, Tom has experimented with temperature and lubricants for the mould, and he's going to have one last go at making the pewter bowl.
Well, here we go then.
This had better be good.
It'll be perfect.
You reckon?
Yeah. No doubt.
I hope you're right.
No doubt at all.
Look at that. Wow! Congratulations.
There we go. It's a bit on the hot side.
It is a bit hot on the hot side too, eh? I mean, that's absolutely
magnificent.
Why don't you hold it with a bit of string?
Well, no,
there
no,
you
what
are.
the hell? That is magnificent.
And so too, at last, is the weather. We obviously sacrificed to the right gods at last night's banquet, because by mid-morning, the whole site is bathed in August sun. Down at trenches 5 and 6, Carenza's increasingly certain she's got the southern limit of the site. These walls are too flimsy to be major living quarters and look more like outbuildings, just the kind of thing you'd find at the edge of a villa. And in among them, she's found lots of animal bones.
That's interesting. What's that?
This is sucking pig, baby pig. It's actually really nice because it's sort of high status
Absolutely,
food.
yeah.
We've had some deer as well from some
What
of the
sort?
trenches. They're not quite sure. It's either fallow or it may have been red deer or very small red deer, which case has been hunted, which again is nice sort of
High status stuff again, yeah,
activity.
that's
But we've got some lovely information from the bones. We've got a possible hunting dog down in trench 6 down there. A lot of bones, but there's a lot of head bones, a lot of jaws.
Yeah.
And we think that may actually be an area where the animals were slaughtered,
Right.
possibly, and jointed. So we've got sort of food preparation now, possibly
Before they're
slaughtering
taken
as well.
up to the house to be
yeah.
cooked,
So again,
perhaps,
it's looking like sort of, kind of ancillary support
Yeah,
work for the
yeah.
villa rather than the sort of opulent occupation. It's the servants and slaves' quarters there.
Great.
But I do think it's something.
That's wonderful.
While Phil's been away pewtering, Niles and Mick the Dig have made wonderful progress in Trench 7.
Oh, Mick, sorry you've been away so long. How's it going?
Oh, it's going really well, Phil. Look what Niles has found. An escutcheon plate for a door.
Oh, what? The keyhole of the door. You can see the Roman putting his key in there. By God, where'd it come from?
From down here, but look what else we've got, Phil. We've got the hinge as well.
Oh, what? So it looks like we've got, well, a major door in this wing.
Might be here.
Slap bang where we put our trench.
If this is a major door, then it probably opened into a pretty grand room. And by now, the archaeologists are pretty sure they can tell what sort of people lived in it.
My feeling is when you look at this site overall, that what we've probably got is a local family, extended family of the Dabunic tribe, who became Romanised, their wealth steadily grew, and by the early 4th century,
Hang
were
on.
able to afford this.
Let's just get the history clear, because I don't know what the Dubonic tribe is. Where are we in terms of the Roman Empire? What's happening in the Roman Empire?
At what date?
At the time where we think that the villa would have been built, when it was its heyday.
Well, it's had over 300 years, or perhaps 250 years, of being part of the Roman Empire. But if you like, the British carrying on more or less as they always had done.
And so the Dubonic tribe are?
They're the local British tribe for the Cotswold area. We know from Caesar, is it, who gives us the account?
No, it's later. It's later than that.
Yeah.
But we know that they had a Romanised town centre at Cirencester, and they became steadily Romanised, adopted many of the Roman habits, and by the early 4th century, when Britain was at its richest, we find there's a lot of spare money around, and people seem to be investing in these large buildings, designed, one suspects, to impress their neighbours and anybody passing by the area.
So when we talk about Romans living here, often the people who would have been living in a place like this would actually have been the Brits.
Yes, they are Romanised
dressed up as Romans.
They're Romanised Britons, Romano-Britons.
And this is what Romano-British Trevor and his wife might have looked like. Though now we know he wasn't called Trevor. The brooch has been cleaned up and the legend is clear. It says, Utre Felix, which means, be lucky. And that just about sums up our weekend. Which isn't over yet. The geophysics team are surveying yet another area over to the east of the site by the water springs. And Phil's still scraping at the room in Trench 7. Phil, have we discovered whether this is the big domestic quarters or what?
It is obviously a very, very important part of the site, Tony. I mean, what we've got here, you see all this black that's all across the floor? This represents a collapsed hypocaust. It's the underfloor central heating system. But absolutely amazingly, right on the bottom of all this burning, or the top of the burning, on the base of this surface, we've got these big metal brackets, and you see here, a hinge. And so what we're looking at there is a chest. that's actually in situ.
He says that with authority now, you see, Tony. I've been lying here for about 3 hours watching him slowly reveal this, going through every possible theory. You know, and the first little bit came out and they say, oh, it's a door, definitely a door, you know, and then comes over, oh no, it's a gate, oh wait a minute, no it isn't, it's a box. No, of course it's a chest. Of course
This is the beauty of archaeology, that you're allowed to evolve your theories. I mean,
Door, gate or casket, I don't care. Phil's found me the posh room I wanted, complete with interior and exterior walls and a hypercaust.
Did you see here?
So now we're ready to reconstruct the villa, and so against all the odds is Steve. It was built in about 300 AD, when Roman Britain was at its most prosperous. The northern courtyard, once the main living area, was soon dismantled to become a storage area. The second courtyard then became the focus of domestic life in the villa, with the main living quarters and the bathhouse in the ranges around it. Carenza's butchery and the slave quarters would have been in the third courtyard. Situated on a spur with stunning views north and south, it must have been a wonderful place to live.
The entrance, you see.
Coming through.
My favourite bit of it is the bathhouse, which Mick and Keith have finally untangled. So there'd have been a door here, because this looks just like a wall.
Door through there.
Straight over there.
Yeah. Into this paved room, you see, with paving slabs on the floor.
Yeah.
And this is where you take your clothes off. It's the changing room.
Yeah,
okay.
I've done that. You're not seeing that.
Revealed by the geophysics, we've got 3 rooms in front of us. There'll be a cold room, a warm room, a hot room, with a big furnace heating the lot from that end. Sweat's pouring off you. The slave comes up, dabs oil all over you, scrapes it off with a big bronze strigil, and then you come back through there, cool down a bit in the warm room, and then out here, and then you take the plunge.
I can't now because Jenny's in here at the moment. It's the mixed bathing, Jen. So we've actually got this floor now, haven't we?
It's fantastic, isn't it? It's all showing up very clearly now.
Yeah.
And it's pit patchy. There's some small bits along here, which Keith, you thought there might be an inlet or something here.
Let's put it this way: if that's not covering a water pipe to bring water from the spring up the hill, I've worked it out. It will take 5 slaves 2 hours to fill this up with bucketfuls of water.
But even at this late stage, the site's throwing up surprises, like the posh room in Trench 7. Phil, what have you done to that beautiful trench? There's a big black hole in the middle of it.
I don't want to disappoint you, Tony. I mean, I told you we couldn't give you a mosaic, and now I can't even give you a hypercaust. But what I can give you is this beautiful little bowl furnace. And the really nice thing about it is from the layers associated with this, we've had lead.
So was this stuck in the middle of a posh room, or wasn't it a posh room at all?
No, I'm afraid. Well, I'm not afraid, because it's where people were working. It's great. It's a workshop.
Well, thank you for the defence of working people.
but
half an hour ago we had a lovely room.
Yeah, but we've also got lead, and that's a constituent of pewter. So it's possible they were actually making pewter here as well.
Almost as well as you.
You know it's true.
And there's more. A last-minute set of geophysics results show our villa has started to expand again.
Look, I mean, I'm shattered. I dread to think what the team is like.
What's all this?
We've now extended to right up the hill.
Hang on, so we're here. This is
we're
what we were
actually
looking
at
for.
this trench here now.
What the hell's all this then?
Well, it's another wing, it's another corridor, and it's going right up to the hill. I've put a ranging pole on the top that's about 200 metres wide.
Oh, no, wait a minute,
It's
near
the spring.
That's near the spring.
Yeah,
that's
one at a time, come on.
It's near the spring, and we've actually picked up a watercourse coming down here along this line behind. This is the range I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We have a watercourse coming down here, curving and joining the stream at the bottom of the hill.
If it's on a spring, near the spring, maybe it's not a villa, maybe it's a shrine associated with a villa near the spring.
These results are extraordinary. If this is an extra wing, it means the building here is still expanding and is quite possibly not a villa at all. So what is it? Sadly, we're out of time, and someone else will have to answer that question on a future dig. But whatever it was, it didn't last very long. 100 years of high living here came to an abrupt end when the army was withdrawn from Britain in 410 AD. Shorn not only of protection, but an essential component of the local economy, the inhabitants of our villa faced at best financial ruin and at worst a violent end at the hands of marauding Saxons. So this is the end of the Roman glory.
We're talking about 400 AD.
Beginning to move into what we call the Dark Ages.
Dark Ages, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the sun was going down on the Roman Empire, rather like it is today.
Well, that's great timing, Mick. Off they go back to Rome. Leaving us to contemplate the most exciting and exhausting time team yet. But it was worth it. In opening up what could turn out to be one of the most significant villa sites in the country, we've had a unique view into Roman life in Britain. We answered most of our questions, and with that final set of geophys results, posed a whole set of new ones, which when we've gone, should keep the mystery of this fantastic site alive.